Okay, guys, welcome to this lesson, lesson three for There Will Never Be Another You. As you can see, I am actually in a coaching call with some student at the minute, but I'm going to talk about lesson three. Lesson three is all about the scale chord relationships and approaching or targeting a note, which I got the idea from this from, of course, Hal Galper's Forward Motion, which is a fantastic book. I highly recommend using or studying that book. I'm going to put a link to Hal's website in the description. I get no money for that. I get no kickback or royalty or anything, and I don't want any. It's such a great book. I highly recommend it. Okay, so I'll put that there, and I'll just give you, just to say that, I never try to pass anything off as my own that isn't my own. It's like I always give credit to the guy that I've been inspired by. Okay, so but the first off, so we've done the chord notes in lesson one, and then we focused on rhythm in lesson two. So now we're going to have a quick look at the scale. So let's first off, why don't we listen to the first one? Here we go. Okay, so that is the chord. So obviously F major, we are or on a major seven, we have a chromatic passing note between the fifth and the sixth, and the sixth and the fifth coming down. For the minor sevens, for the dominant sevens, we use the chromatic passing note between the seventh and the eighth note. And the reason we do that is because it keeps us on a chordal note. It keeps us on a strong beat as we come back down. Okay, that's why we do that. Of course, if you want these resources are available. They for a price of a cup of coffee. That's all they are, and I'm going to be available on the Jazz Etudes website. I will put a link in the description if you want them. Okay. What I should just hasten to add, there's different ways I've seen and I've tried for a 2-5-1, if you like, in a minor key. Sometimes that can be called a 2-5, but actually it's not really a 2-5 because the E minor 7 flat 5 is actually the seventh. It's basically F major starting on the E. That's how I think of it. And then the A7 flat 9 that's how I would do that. I would just flatten the 9 and then up we go. But because we're in the minor, I treat the A7 flat 9 as D minor harmonic. That is how I do it. And the reason I do that is because I think that's what people like Chet did, Blue Mitchell, Clifford Brown. When I've looked at their solos, when I've listened to what they do. Okay, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I will also play this as the D minor 7 harmonic too. Okay, but on this instant I think later on I might have put the C sharp in. Okay, so that is basically the chord scale relationship. But the reason for learning the scales is because you want to know the key center, and when we are targeting a third, say so if you're targeting the third of C minor 7 or the targeting the third of F7, we're not always in the key of F. I've seen some of the comments for these videos. What I said, I'm going to put a link in the description as well. I highly recommend reading Mark Levine's jazz book, or Levine, Levine, Mark Levine's jazz book. I'll put a link in there for that as well, because that will really help you with understanding the theory. Because, you know, we're in F major here, but then we're in D minor, but C minor 7 to F7, we are in B flat major. Okay, here we're with the C sharp. It's an A7. A7 is the 5 chord of D major, or with the flat knot, or D minor. Okay, it depends how you think about it. There's so many different. I've seen so many contrasting ways. I've just taken what's worked for me, which is normally the easiest way. I never think in modes, all this Mixolydian really, and Dorian and Aeolian, because I don't think people like Clifford Brown thought about that, because I'm not even sure it was invented back then, and certainly don't think Chet Baker thought about that either. So I just think what I was taught, it's like if you're 2 5, that is B flat major starting on the second, that is B flat major starting on the fifth on the F, okay, because you're in the key of B flat. I think that's quite a good way to go about it. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And the next one is approaching by an eighth note. Okay, so this is the study. Okay, and sometimes we're going up, and then for the rest of the etude, sometimes we're going down, and then I've mixed it up. Okay, so let's listen to the second etude, which sounds like this. Okay, that is what we're trying to do. We are, for obviously here, you can see we're targeting the third. I like to target the third because it's what Hal Galper does in his example for All the Things You Are, because it just sounds beautifully melodic. If you think of F major, okay, if you think of F7, so there would be an E flat, there would be a C, there's the A, and there is the F. The only note that's different between the F7 and the F minor 7 is the third. So it's a very strong leading note. So by targeting the third, I found it to be a great springboard for creativity and using other vocabulary. I'm not always doing it, but it's a great guide. It's a guide tone, and it is a great if you're following the sevenths and the thirds. It's a fantastic thing to do, and so that's why I've chosen it for this exercise. As I said, the rest of this etude is available for the price of a cup of coffee. Okay, if you want it, again, links in the description. Or if you're interested in the coaching program, I've got around, I'm not sure how many are in it now, around 25 students in the coaching program. They get everything that I create that you see on YouTube and the etudes, everything, as well as a full curriculum that takes them right from all of me and a whole bunch of tunes, plus weekly coaching calls where they can upload solos and they get critiqued and feedback to help them move on. Okay, so if that's something you're interested in, just give me an email. I'll put that email in the description too. Okay, on with the next etude, and the next etude is, we just done that one, not the four. We need to be doing, we are now picking up with 2/8 notes. As Miles said, everything's in the pickup, to quote Hal from his book. But this is a sort of this forward motion, ba, 2, 3, da da da. You're really telling the listener that you know exactly that chord change that's coming up, that forward motion. You're giving them that sense of you know where you're going. And when you listen to Bach, or if you listen to Mozart, you know, I'm a big fan of Mozart. You listen to Mozart piano concertos, it is that forward motion is there all the time, and it just brings out a beautiful melodic quality. Okay, so let's have a listen to this etude. Okay, you can hear, you know, it's just developing that technique, developing that ear finger coordination, and really getting to know your instrument. Okay, so approaching the third. If you've never done that before, it's going to be a challenge. It will be a challenge, and it will take a while. Okay, and then we do approaching by an eighth, and then if you think. So 1, 2, ba do ba da, 2, 3, boo do ba da, and then if you think that you're going to approach the beat 3 by an eighth as well. Ba do do da do do da do 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 da do 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 do. All of a sudden, you've got a beautiful flowing melodic line. If you are approaching a chord note up here, and then the third, and then you might do the seventh, and then down to the third, and you might do the fifth, and then up to the third. Okay, but this is just an exercise for the thirds. Once you get going with this and start practicing it and really get involved in it, of course you don't have to just target the thirds. Okay, this is just for this exercise. Let's have a listen now to the next, where we are approaching using 3/8 notes. Okay, and then the final exercise, or the final etude, if you like, is exactly what I've just said, where that, and then we are approaching just chord notes, maybe not the third, but we are just running the scale, but always hitting a chord note and using those chromatic passing notes. Okay, and also using the chordal notes and sometimes going up to the 9. Okay, so a little bit of a jump, but as you'll hear, this sounds super melodic, and this is what Mark Levine calls, again, I've borrowed this exercise, he calls it running the scale. So whatever key center you're in. So F major here, I'm just using that F major scale here. Here, E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 flat 9 to the D minor. I am only using D minor melodic from there through to there. That is just D minor melodic minor scale, and always a chordal note on beat 1 and beat 3. Beat 1, beat 3. Okay, and this is just a great exercise to help you sound super melodic. So let's again. The full etude is if you decide you want to buy me a cup of coffee. Here we go with the last exercise. Okay, of course, it's a means to an end. You are trying to play in the key center, as you know, the greats do, people like Chet, and you're just developing that ear finger coordination, trying to hit a chordal note. And this tied in with what we've got next week, or whenever I do the video, I've got a whole bunch of different types of vocabulary that you can also apply and practice it in a super targeted way. So we've got some sort of Clifford Brown-esque chromatic enclosures. We've got a Fats Navarro type phrase. We've got all sorts going into that, and then mix that in with the chord notes, with syncopated rhythms, with approach notes and target notes, and key center scales, key center chord note relationship. Then with that vocabulary, that is a great little building block, if you like, to really take your playing forward. And it is definitely what I teach. It's what I teach in the program. It's what I practice myself, which has helped me the most. I'm not regurgitating other people's things. I'm regurgitating what has worked for me. Quite a lot of things that has been recommended to me sometimes hasn't worked, you know, and I practiced it, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting anywhere here. I don't feel like I'm practicing. I don't feel like I'm improving. I don't feel like I'm improvising. I feel like I'm just trying to remember. But this actually, you know, this has really given me the ability to feel much more like I'm improvising. When I go to a gig now or do a bandstand, I'm never thinking, right, I'm going to play that, I'm going to play this, I'm going to play that, I've got to try and remember this. And of course most jazz students don't, but I honestly do feel that once you really get all this down and together, it doesn't come overnight. It takes a lot of work and a lot of diligence, a lot of tenacity, a lot of practice. I've just been chatting there with Alan, you know, even the great Bobby Shew still calls himself a jazz student, and he's now in his 80s. So, you know, I've been trying to practice this stuff for 30 odd years, still trying to improve. But this is the stuff that I'm sharing, is the stuff that has helped me improve the most. Okay, so hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. And as I say, all the links are in the description. And this is the chord scale relationship and learning to target that forward motion. So you're letting the listener know that you really know the chord changes. Okay, that you're not just playing, you're not just using your ear and playing off the chord changes, you're nailing the chord changes because you're telling the listener what they're going to be before you even get there by using that forward motion. That's how I interpret it anyway. I might be way off there, but that's my interpretation. Okay guys, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.